You wake up. You open your eyes. The first thing you notice isn't the daylight filtering through the dirty window, but a strange sensation. You're already tired. Not physically tired, but energetically drained, as if someone had left an invisible faucet running inside you all night. Welcome to the life of someone who carries what Jung called the energetic signature of the wounded healer. An aura so unique that people sense it before you even open your mouth. And no, it's not magic. It's pure psychology mixed with neuroscience and a pinch of evolutionary trauma. Get out of bed. The sheets smell of industrial detergent and vague nighttime anxieties. You look at yourself in the bathroom mirror, tired eyes, a posture that betrays years spent reading other people's micro-expressions as if they were bills to pay. Jung understood something fundamental. Your ability to sense everything, absolutely everything that happens in a room, wasn't born out of cosmic kindness. It was born out of survival. As a child, you learned to decipher your father's mood from the sound of his keys in the lock. You developed an emotional radar before you even knew how to tie your shoes. Your nervous system was wired into constant alert mode because you had to anticipate the emotional storms of the adults around you. And now, here you are, an adult with a brain that functions like a satellite dish pointed at every single emotional nuance within 100 meters. If you feel a chill while listening to these words, write, "I feel it," in the comments. That way, I'll know you recognized yourself in this video. And if you haven't already, subscribe now. You leave your house, the street is crowded, and you hear them all. Not metaphorically, you actually hear them. The guy walking quickly with his jaw clenched is harboring anger he hasn't yet had the courage to shout at anyone. The woman on the phone, laughing too loud, is trying to convince herself everything's okay. The boy with headphones has a sadness that weighs like a backpack full of bricks. You absorb all of this, automatically, without asking permission. Jung called it mystical participation, an unconscious identification with the psychological states of others. You walk into a room, and your brain immediately begins what I call energetic archaeology. You dig beneath the surface of social presentations to find the emotional truth that people hide even from themselves. You take the subway. Huge mistake. The train car's packed with crowded bodies, and you're standing there, inches away from at least 7 different people, each carrying their own burden of unprocessed emotions. There's the stressed-out manager clutching the handrail like a lifeboat, emanating waves of missed deadline anxiety. There's the puffy-eyed student who was probably crying an hour ago. There's the elderly man carrying a loneliness so thick it's almost visible. And you feel them all, simultaneously. Your highly sensitive nervous system, the one Dr. Elaine Aron studied for years, is processing sensory and emotional information at levels most people can't even conceive of. Your mirror neurons are in overdrive. Your limbic system is working overtime. And you're standing there, trying not to collapse as your body unconsciously transforms all this emotional chaos into something Jung called the transcendent function. You arrive at work. Open space, 40 people. Neon lights buzzing like crazed wasps. Someone's microwaved fish. The air smells of burnt coffee, cheap spray deodorant, and dash career aspirations. You sit at your desk, and before you even turn on the computer, you already know who's sick, who's lying, who needs help but will never ask. How do you know? Because your aura, this invisible energetic signature you carry, works like a 3-dimensional psychological scanner. Jung documented in his private notes how this process occurs on multiple simultaneous levels. Level 1. Energetic scanning. Your brain automatically activates what Jung called sensitivity to emotional complexes, the unconscious patterns that guide people's behavior. You perceive their unresolved grief, their hidden anger, their repressed fear before they themselves have even acknowledged that these emotions exist. Level 2. Unconscious absorption. Because your psyche has evolved to be permeable, you begin to absorb these energies without conscious choice. It's as if you were an emotional sponge in an ocean of other people's feelings. And level 3, alchemical process. And here Jung becomes revolutionary. Your empathic nervous system doesn't just absorb emotional energy, it processes it through what he called the transcendent function. You unconsciously transform the raw emotional material of others into wisdom, insight, and healing potential. This is why people feel better after being with you, even when you haven't done anything specific. Your aura has literally processed their shadow material and reflected back to them a more integrated version of their emotional truth.
Coffee break. You approach the machine and immediately 3 colleagues materialize around you like flies in a jelly jar. The one with marital problems, the one with performance anxiety, that other one who still hasn't gotten over the death of his cat 3 years ago. Everyone needs to talk to you. Everyone feels inexplicably drawn to you. Jung understood that this attraction isn't random. It's archetypal. Your empathic aura creates patterns of attraction that work like psychological magnets. You attract specific archetypes: the wounded child, the one carrying unresolved childhood traumas and feeling in your presence the promise of unconditional acceptance they never received; the shadow caster, individuals who have disowned parts of themselves and unconsciously seek empaths on whom to unload the emotions they refuse to feel; the energy vampire, those whose empathic development has stalled and who have learned to survive by feeding on the emotional energy of others. But you also attract positive archetypes: the conscious seeker, people who are doing their own inner work and recognize your aura as a mirror for their growth; the authentic self, individuals ready to embrace their full humanity and who find in your presence the permission to feel deeply without shame. The problem is that you often can't distinguish between those who come to heal and those who come to be nourished. And so you find yourself drained, trying to transform people who aren't yet ready for transformation. You return to your desk with cold coffee and half the energy. You check your emails. 57 unread messages. At least 20 are emotional requests disguised as professional communications. Recognize the pattern. People use work-related excuses to get close to you, but what they're really looking for is free emotional processing. End of the day, you leave the office and you feel the weight of all the emotions you've absorbed over the previous 8 hours. It's as if you're carrying an invisible backpack filled with other people's feelings. Jung called this condition psychic contamination. When you're unaware of your alchemical nature, you become an emotional sponge rather than a psychological alchemist. The difference? The sponge absorbs and soaks. The alchemist transforms. And to transform, you must be aware of the process. You must engage in what Jung called conscious suffering, the willingness to fully feel your wounds so they can transform into wisdom instead of remaining open wounds for others to exploit. You arrive home. Finally, you close the door. Silence. But it's not true silence, because all the emotional noise from the day is still lingering inside you. You sit on the couch that's seen better days. You turn on the TV, the news, a natural disaster on the other side of the world, and you feel it. Not the generic sadness of a TV viewer. You feel it in your body, because your empathic connection doesn't stop with the people you know. Jung discovered that empaths serve as collective antennas. You are unconsciously tuned into the collective emotional frequencies of entire groups, communities, and patterns of global consciousness. That's why you feel inexplicably sad during global tragedies, anxious during collective upheavals, drained in crowded places where many people bring unprocessed emotions. Your empathic aura is literally picking up archetypal energies that transcend individual psychology. You are sensing the collective shadow, humanity's unhealed traumas, suppressed emotions, disowned aspects of consciousness. This connection to the collective unconscious is both your greatest gift and your greatest challenge. On the one hand, it gives you access to universal wisdom, archetypal guidance, and the ability to help heal collective wounds. On the other, it can overwhelm you with emotional content that isn't yours personally, but feels intensely real. Jung believed that empaths play a crucial role in collective healing because you can sense what others have numbed. You serve as an early warning system for eruptions of the collective shadow. Wars, social upheavals, environmental crises. Your empathic aura senses these disturbances before they manifest in the physical world.
You get ready for bed, shower. The water flows, taking with it at least some of the energy absorbed during the day, but not all of it, because the emotions you processed today have stuck to you like invisible pollen. You look at yourself in the mirror again, the same tired face as this morning, but with something added: awareness. Jung said you can't integrate what you don't recognize. Most empaths live unconsciously, unaware that they operate with different neurological and energetic wiring. The first step towards what Jung called sovereign empathy is recognizing your energetic nature. Your empathy isn't just emotional, it's energetic. You literally absorb and process information through channels that most people don't have access to. You crawl under the covers, clean sheets this time. Turn off the light, darkness. But your mind is still on, still processing, still feeling. Jung had developed specific techniques for what he called psychic hygiene, protecting and maintaining the empathic aura while consciously engaging with the world. The energetic cleansing ritual daily practices to eliminate absorbed energies and return to your authentic frequency. It could be meditation, writing, time in nature, creative expression, whatever helps you distinguish between your own energy and the energies you've absorbed from others. The key is consistency. Jung understood that empaths need regular energetic maintenance like athletes need physical training. Your empathic gifts are sophisticated tools that require conscious care. The Conscious Boundaries Protocol. Jung taught what I call energetic Aikido, the ability to redirect other people's projections without absorbing them. When someone tries to hold you responsible for their emotions, you can acknowledge their pain without taking it on. This requires what Jung called conscious compassion, feeling with others while remaining centered in your own truth. You can witness their struggle without becoming entangled in it. The archetypal shield technique. Jung discovered that empaths can consciously invoke archetypal shields when dealing with energy vampires or unconscious projections. You might call upon the warrior archetype for strength, the wise elder for discernment, the ruler for unwavering centering. These aren't fantasy visualizations. They're ways to access different aspects of your consciousness that can manage challenging energetic situations. Close your eyes. Sleep comes slowly. But before you drift off, think about what Jung wrote in his later works. The goal isn't to get rid of your sensitivity, but to make it conscious. When you understand your empathic nature as Jung did, you stop seeing it as a problem to be solved and begin to see it as a gift to be refined. Your aura becomes an instrument of consciousness rather than a source of suffering. The transformation is complete when you can walk into any room, feel everything that's happening energetically, and consciously choose how to respond. You're no longer at the mercy of your empathic gifts, you own them. This doesn't make you cold or distant. In fact, conscious empathy is much more powerful than unconscious empathy because it requires love instead of fear, awareness instead of compulsion, choice instead of reaction. You fall asleep. You dream. In the dream, you're in a room full of mirrors. Each mirror reflects a different version of you. The child who had to read adults' emotions to survive. The teenager who absorbed his friend's pain thinking it was his duty. The adult who emptied himself trying to fill the voids of others. But there's another, larger mirror in the center of the room, and that one reflects something different. You, whole, aware, with an aura that doesn't lose energy but consciously radiates it. Jung called this process individuation,
becoming who you truly are through the conscious integration of all your parts. You wake up again. Same bed, same room, same life. But something has changed, not in external reality, but in your perception of it. Today, when you get out of bed, you no longer feel empty. You feel your energy. You recognize its boundaries. You can distinguish it from the energies of others. When you leave the house and sense the emotions of people on the street, you don't automatically absorb them. You perceive them, you recognize them, but you remain anchored to your center. On the crowded subway, instead of being a sponge that soaks everything, you become what Jung called an alchemical vessel, a space in which emotions can be witnessed and transformed without you being overwhelmed by them. At work, when colleagues approach with their masked emotional demands, you can discern who comes for mutual growth and who comes to be nourished. And with those who come to be nourished, you establish what Jung called conscious membranes, boundaries that allow love to enter while keeping manipulation out. They're not walls. They're intelligent filters that protect your energetic integrity without closing you off from authentic connection. During the coffee break, when someone starts unloading their latest drama on you, you no longer feel obligated to absorb it all. You can listen with compassion without losing yourself in the process. You can offer a healing presence without draining yourself. This is the difference between the wounded healer and the sovereign healer. The former heals from his wounds, the latter heals from his wholeness.
The day passes, and yes, you still feel everything. The difference is that now you consciously choose what to do with it. Jung was right. When empathy becomes conscious, it transforms from a curse into a blessing. You can feel deeply without drowning. You can love completely without losing yourself. You can heal others without depleting your own life force. This transformation requires what Jung considered the most courageous act possible, the willingness to be authentic in a world that often punishes authenticity. Your rare aura shines brighter when you stop hiding your gifts to make others feel comfortable and begin to embody them as expressions of your truth. Evening, you return home. This time, you don't carry the invisible backpack of other people's emotions. You carry your own energy, whole and aware. You sit on the couch. You turn on the TV. The same tragic news from around the world. But instead of feeling overwhelmed by the collective pain, you recognize your role in what Jung called the process of collective individuation, humanity's evolution toward greater consciousness and integration. Your empathic aura isn't just a personal gift, it's a collective necessity. In a world where many people have disconnected from their emotional truth, empaths serve as bridges of consciousness. You help others remember their capacity to feel authentically. But Jung warned of the savior complex, the unconscious belief that one is responsible for everyone's healing. This complex actually impedes collective healing because it creates dependence rather than empowerment. Empath's true collective healing mission is to model what Jung called conscious feeling, the ability to feel deeply while remaining rooted in one's own center. When people witness this in your aura, it gives them permission to access their own emotional depth without getting lost. The ripple effect. Jung observed that when one person in a family or community system reaches this level of empathic sovereignty, they create ripples of consciousness that influence everyone in the system. Your integrated aura gives others permission to stop numbing their emotions and begin to process them consciously. You prepare for bed, shower, hot water. But this time, you're not washing away absorbed energy, you're honoring your body for the alchemical work it does every day. You look in the mirror, and for the first time in a long time, you like what you see.
Not because you've changed physically, but because you recognize who you truly are, not a victim of your sensitivity, but a master of your empathy. Jung wrote, "Your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. He who looks outward dreams. He who looks inward awakens." For empaths, this awakening means recognizing that your aura is a reflection of your inner wholeness, not of your internal wounds. Bed, blankets, darkness. Close your eyes, but this time not with the anxiety of tomorrow or the burden of today. You close them with the knowledge that your sensitivity is not too much. Your empathy is not weakness. Your rare aura is not a burden. It is a bridge to the consciousness the world desperately needs. Jung believed that empaths represent an evolutionary development in human consciousness. Your ability to process emotions at such sophisticated levels is preparing humanity for what he called the next stage of psychological development. As more empaths learn to wield their gifts consciously, we're approaching what Jung envisioned as the conscious collective, a humanity that can feel deeply, process shadow material, and integrate wholeness at the species level. You sleep, you dream, but this time, the dreams are different. You are no longer fragmented among the 1,000 versions of yourself you had to be to survive. You are one, whole, aware, and your aura, even while you sleep, radiates what Jung called integrated wholeness, an energetic signature that inspires others to do their own inner work instead of depending on you to process their emotions. People still feel your empathic gifts, but now they experience what I call empowering resonance instead of enabling resonance. Your presence awakens their capacity for healing instead of creating dependence on your emotional work. You wake up. A new day. But it's not like any other day because you're no longer like any other day. You've taken the journey Jung described in his writings from wounded healer to sovereign healer. Someone who can guide others through the same transformation because they walked the path first. Your rare aura, when consciously embodied, becomes a beacon, showing others that it's possible to feel everything and remain whole, to love deeply and maintain boundaries, to serve others while honoring yourself. And this isn't the end of the story, it's just the beginning, because every day is an opportunity to further refine your conscious empathy, to expand your ability to hold space for others without losing yourself, to radiate the frequency of the sovereign healer who not only heals, but teaches others how to heal themselves.
Jung understood something that the modern world still struggles to accept. Sensitivity is not a weakness to be corrected. It is a strength to be understood. Empathy is not a vulnerability to be protected. It is a power to be mastered. And the aura you carry, that invisible energetic signature people sense as soon as they enter a room, is not a genetic curse. It is the result of a traumatic alchemy transformed into wisdom through the conscious work of integration. You are rare, not because you are broken, but because you have learned to transform brokenness into beauty. Not because you are weak, but because you have developed a strength that can contain the full intensity of the human experience. Not because you're destined to bear everyone's pain, but because you have learned to alchemize pain into wisdom. The world needs empaths who understand their gifts as Jung did, not as burdens to be borne, but as sacred abilities to be consciously directed. Not as wounds that define you, but as tools that serve consciousness. When you embody your empathic nature with full awareness, you become what Jung called a living bridge between the conscious and unconscious worlds. You help others access their ability to feel authentically while maintaining your own energetic integrity. And this, ultimately, is the true meaning of the rare aura that only true empaths possess.
It's not rare because few people possess empathic abilities. It's rare because few empaths learn to wield these abilities consciously. Your sensitivity is your superpower. Not when you use it unconsciously to absorb the world's pain, but when you use it consciously to transform that pain into wisdom, that wisdom into guidance, that guidance into collective evolution. Jung knew it, and now you know it too. The question is no longer, why am I so sensitive? The question is, how will I use this sensitivity to contribute to the evolution of human consciousness? Because every empath who integrates their gifts makes it easier for others to do the same. Every wounded healer who becomes a sovereign healer creates a ripple that touches hundreds, thousands, millions of other souls who are still struggling with their sensitivity as if it were a condemnation rather than a calling. You leave home, same street as always, same people, same emotions floating in the air, but you are no longer the same. You walk with the awareness of who you truly are. Not an emotional sponge destined to absorb the world's pain, but a psychological alchemist capable of turning that pain into gold. Your aura radiates it, and people feel it. Even if they don't know what they're feeling, they feel it. This is the energetic signature of the sovereign healer. It no longer attracts those who want to take, it attracts those who are ready to grow. It no longer magnetizes vampires, it magnetizes seekers. It no longer dries up in giving, it expands in sharing, because you have understood what Jung tried to teach throughout his life. The privilege of a lifetime is becoming who you truly are. And for empaths, becoming who you truly are means transforming your wounds into wisdom, your sensitivity into sovereignty, your empathy into a conscious choice rather than an unconscious compulsion. Welcome to your new life. Welcome to your conscious aura. Welcome to the dimension of the sovereign healer. If you've made it this far, you didn't end up here by accident. You're looking for confirmation that you're not overly sensitive, that what you're feeling is real. Now leave a like to help the algorithm carry this message to other empaths who are still suffering in silence. Drop a line in the comments and tell me what you felt, even if it's just one word. And if you haven't already, subscribe and activate the bell. Every video I post is a stepping stone to transforming your sensitivity from a burden to a power. I hope you emerge from here with greater clarity and strength. See you in the next video.